This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. I like to think of myself as somebody who's patient, right? Sometimes I get criticized for the amount of patience that I show some players. Jed Wills is one of those players that, people have been a bit more critical of than I am. I've not been like a super fan of Jed Wills, but I've been willing to give him more of a chance than I think a lot of people have been. Well, today was my last straw with Jed Wills. If you don't know, you will know soon. But an article dropped from Mary Kay that seems to have a pretty in-depth interview with Jed Wills. And this is the headline. Left tackle Jed Wills reveals he made a business decision to not face the Ravens October 27th when he was hurt and was benched next week in favor of DeJuan Jones. Now, I thought it was interesting how the Browns were moving, right? For a long time, they seemed to not be interested in making DeJuan Jones play left tackle. Then DeJuan Jones plays to fill in for an injury at left tackle. And now, all of a sudden, the plan is for DeJuan Jones to be the left tackle for the rest of the year. Thought that was an interesting change of gears by the Cleveland Browns. This makes it make more sense. They're not just putting DeJuan Jones at left tackle because they think he has a chance to be a left tackle. They're putting DeJuan Jones at left tackle because I think they're sick of Jed Wills. There's more here. The article is actually, I think, free, so you could go check it out. I know normally the Cleveland.com has a paywall behind their article, but I did pull some quotes from there that I thought were interesting. He's explaining his injury. He says it got hyperextended on the very first play. I kind of felt it, but we were going up on the ball. Everybody was getting set. So I was like, well, I'll stay in. If it hurts later, I've got to come out. It is what it is. But I ended up finishing the game. The next day, I got some treatment and stuff. And my knee was really swollen. And I couldn't really bend it. So I played out the next week how it went. I wasn't ready for game time. I didn't end up playing. By the time Wills got benched, it didn't make sense for him to ask for a trade. It was November 5th, 2 days after the game. So he got hurt. Then he got benched. And by the time he got benched, it didn't make sense for him to ask for a trade. I think Mary Kay is being very charitable with that choice of words. I don't think it really mattered if Jed Wills wanted a trade. The truth is, not good enough to trade. That's the truth. You got to be a good player, a productive player to get traded. You got to have some upside to be traded. And right now, the Browns have decided that DeJuan Jones has significantly more upside at the position that you were drafted to be at in his second year. Browns didn't trade Jed Wills because nobody wants Jed Wills. Nobody wants to pick up his money. Nobody wants to start him. Nobody wants Jed Wills. And the fact that an article like this comes out alongside with the fact that he got benched a couple weeks ago furthers that. Like the Browns, I think they've already made their plans to move on from Jed Wills. So they'll be fine. But the question is like, what Jed Wills going to do after this? Let's continue. Was he concerned about the long-term implications of tapping himself out before the Ravens game, a 29-24 victory in which Jones made his first start for the Browns? So Mary Kay is asking him, was he concerned about the long-term implications of basically tapping himself out of a game? Because he could have played, but he decided to make a business decision. Ultimately, that decision worked out. For the Browns, at least. Not for him. He said, I mean, maybe. He said, that's what you do You call it a variable, but I mean, there's been times where I haven't played in the past with other things. I had an ankle injury where I was going out a couple of games a couple years ago. I mean, injuries are just a part of the game. They know that that's what they signed us up for. We know that when we sign up, it's a part of the game. If you can't play and you're not healthy, it is what it is. Do your best to get back and be healthy when you are. I don't really understand what he's trying to say in this quote, because he's explaining not playing in this game when he chose not to play, not because he couldn't go, by saying, oh, well, injuries happen. But this isn't about if injuries happen or not. This is about if you wanted to play through it, help the team out. He was asked if he was upset with the benching. I think upset isn't a good word to use. He said, I would say it's more frustrating, but I mean, it's not my decision. I can only do what I can do. I think this quote right here, I'm going to read it again because I think that quote right there explains a lot. When asked if he was upset by the benching, I don't think upset is the good word to use. I would say it's more frustrating, but I mean, it's not my decision. I can only do what I can do. This is why I think the team has decided to move on. Because his response to getting benched is, it wasn't really my fault. Like, that's what that quote says. It's frustrating. He's not mad, right? If it were his lack of play, he'd be mad. But he's not mad. He's frustrated. It's not his decision. He can only do what he can do. He could have played better. I promise you the Cleveland Browns went into this season hoping Chad Wills played better. I promise you that they wanted to look through this season in as many ways as possible to hope that Jed Wills plays at a higher level, because that would have been the easiest path going forward for this football team, is if Jed Wills could play left tackle. I don't think the Browns went into the season thinking, hey, man, I hope we can move our fourth-round second-year player to left tackle and get rid of our first-round top 10 overall pick, who we drafted to be the left tackle of the future. I don't think that's the plan. I don't think that ever was the plan for the Cleveland Browns. So what do you mean? Why are you acting like this is something that happened to you? As if you did not play yourself into this hole. The Browns wouldn't be trying out DeJuan Jones at left tackle if you get good when you were out there. Blaming it on an injury. Okay. All right, cool. It's not like the entire offensive line isn't out there playing with the injury too. You're the only one that got benched. You're the worst one on the line. Where is, and this is something that I think is super important to talk about, right? Because a lot of us throw around the word accountability. And we throw around these concepts of, oh, this guy has to be held accountable. But we forget that accountability is something that the person who needs to be held accountable has to consent to in order for it to mean anything. You can't force somebody to be accountable. You can't force somebody to do better. They have to consent to being accountable. When I read that quote from Jed Wills, that is a quote of somebody who has not even gotten to the point of consenting to being accountable for his level of play. There's no reflectiveness in that. There's no, hey, man, maybe I wasn't playing well. There's, I was injured. And I was playing through injuries. And I'm frustrated because they benched me when they know I was playing through injuries. And that's the only reason I was struggling. But the fact is that Jed Wills, healthy or not, since 2020, especially after 2020, has been disappointing and inconsistent. There's no reflection about that. There's no talk to him about what he's done the last 4 years, how he's not really progressed to the place that you would expect him to be after his rookie season. None of that from Jed. Just, I was injured. I don't make these decisions. Excuses, excuses, excuses. No consent to be held accountable. I can yell, oh, they need to hold him accountable as much as I want. I can get mad at Kevin Stefanski and tell you he needs to hold Jed Wills accountable. But he can't make that happen. Jed Wills has to consent to being held accountable. Jed Wills has to understand that he has to be better. This is not somebody who has that understanding. You can't do nothing with him. This is over with. He's done. I know I floated out the idea of maybe let him play right tackle, see if he's better there. No, I'm done. I'm done. Get this dude off the team. Let him walk. I don't care. I don't care. At the bottom of this quote, he notes that as far as free agency is concerned, I'm just waiting and looking forward to plan. This is a man who already is out the door. He's blaming everything on the Cleveland Browns, who for 4 years had Bill Callahan here, one of the best offensive line coaches. He didn't progress. And he thinks that this situation was just uniquely bad. I got a newsflash for Jed Wills. His career probably panned out as best as it possibly could, if this is the mindset that he has going into it. Just saw this article, and I'm amazed, right? One more quote here. Does he like it here? I mean, yeah, like wherever I want it, you know what I mean? Again, man, read between the lines here. He actually does not think that he's contributed to why he's in this position. You can't teach somebody like that. You can't teach somebody to learn from their mistakes if they're not willing to accept that they've made mistakes. Can't do nothing with that, right? I'd rather deal with somebody who is apologetic and understanding of what they did wrong than somebody who just does just oblivious. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. You can't develop a dude like that. I don't care what the tools are, the RAS score, the relative app, all that shit is all that shit. But right here, that's how you put all of that shit to use. And if you ain't got it right here, you ain't going to have it with everything else. And Jed ain't got it. He need to develop it. Maybe he develops it somewhere else. God bless him. I'm done. I'm done with this whole thing. Just absolute refusal to be held, absolute refusal to consent to being held accountable here from Jed. No reflection on why he got his job taken by DeJuan Jones. No, just, hey, it's not my fault. Let me go complain to Mary Kay publicly about where I'm at. That's loser behavior. And maybe Jed Wills is not a loser. I don't want to make that kind of jump here, but it is loser behavior. Like, this is the behavior. Pretty consistent with losers. You don't see Trent Williams doing stuff like this, blaming his bad play on everybody else. Is what it is, man. So, Jed Wills, I've been patient about this and looking for ways to see if you can make it work. I'm done. Get him off the team. Do it whenever you want. I don't care if he plays. Like, he doesn't need to be the right tackle of this team. We'll figure it out somewhere else. Draft somebody else. You got to find somebody better than that. Because this guy's, and this makes me even more frustrated they didn't draft a tackle in last year's draft. Because if this was the kind of mindset that you were aware that Jed Wills was carrying in that building, then how in the world do you continue to not have a backup plan for him? Especially in the draft where there were a million backup plans there. Could have got somebody in the third round. The people stuff. I love some of the stuff that Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski are able to do. I think they're good at their job. But the people stuff, man, they gotta read people a little bit better than this. They don't do a good job of reading people. I do not trust their read on people. And a lot of picking players to develop is understanding them as people. Right? Yeah, Josh Allen is raw. Yeah, Josh Allen's tape looked like garbage at Wyoming. But if you read him properly as a person coming into that draft, you understood that he had the work ethic. and the tenacity to get to where he needed to be. Jed Wills, all the talent in the world, doesn't have the tenacity. I don't know about the work ethic. I'm not going to make any assumptions about his work ethic, but like if you look at what he puts out, he doesn't put a great representation of himself out there. So don't know what the work ethic's like, but I assume it's not great. But the tenacity's not there. The competitiveness is not there. Doesn't matter if he has all those tools. You got to put them tools to work, man. And he ain't got what it takes to put them tools to work. That's my thoughts. Let me know what your thoughts are. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.